introduce these guys because all the brains is over here. So we're going to leverage that today. Let's go through and everybody introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive in. Go for it.
Hello, I'm Lily Hargreaves. I'm the head of e-commerce for Serafina at the moment, but I've primarily spent my career in fashion, the fashion side of things. So I've worked in activewear, entry-level luxury, now working that sort of midpoint women's fashion. So yeah, really excited to chat today.
Amazing. Bianca, head of e-commerce and digital at the Somewhere Co. A lot of retail throughout my career, ex-Black Milk, Flight Centre, Verge Girl. And the Somewhere Co., if you don't know what the Somewhere Co. is, we kind of started out doing lunch boxes, very fun and exciting, colourful lunch bags. We now do tote bags, other accessories, beach. We've expanded into kids, and now we're also doing a fashion brand. So all under one roof, come check us out.
Wow, that's quite a mix. Hi guys, my name is Hakan Steele, Hawk Steele for short. I'm the partner manager at Starshipit. I've been at Starshipit for about 10 years, but been in shipping and logistics for a good 15 or 16 years, I think. If you're not familiar with Starshipit, it's a multi-carrier integrated shipping and tracking software. We are fortunate enough to work with both these great customers, along with another 30,000 brands globally. Yeah, that's us.
Only 30,000 brands, not a big
Just
deal.
30,000.
So you've got a good coverage here because you've obviously got service provider, you've got e-commerce, you've got agency, gross. You've got a little bit of coverage here, but I think something that was really interesting, I was talking to one of my clients earlier, and he reminded me that 3 years ago I came up here and said, I was talking to him about vanity metrics, and I think what's really interesting is we're talking about revenue, which can sometimes unfortunately be a bit of a vanity metric. And I wanted to just get a raise of hands in the audience. How many of you are currently having a profitability issue, or you'd like your profitability to be better? Surely. That's what we're here to discuss today. We're here to talk about real-life examples through all of these businesses and figure out tactics, ways in which we've looked at that. Or to be perfectly honest, sometimes it's not even tactics to combat that. Sometimes it's just identifying that you have a profitability issue. So I guess from you guys, can anybody give me a real-world example of an experience they've had where they've gone, shit, my revenue is okay, but my profitability isn't?
I can jump into this one.
Go.
Yeah, so I think having been in fashion for a lot of my career, I think even when profitability can sometimes be good, if there is money that's stuck in aged inventory, held up in inventory, I think that can be such a killer for fashion brands. I think when you're trying to turn your stock super regularly, if you're not, planning, like merchandise planning, buying accordingly to what you're actually doing revenue-wise, you can be having the biggest and best months of your life and still be ending up in a tricky spot if you're sitting on that aged inventory and you're not able to move through it.
Either of you guys?
Yeah, I guess probably from a more relatable side, I'm obviously not a brand, but we speak to a lot of brands every day, and people will sign up for a Starshipit trial, we'll have a chat to them, talk to them about their business, and we hear this quite regularly. They might have had a social post blow up and over the few months they've got revenues going really, really well, and the fulfillment is an absolute disaster and chaos, and they're finally realizing down the track what that's costing them. And at that point, the other real punishing part to that conversation is like, okay, we're going to fix that after peak. And then meanwhile, every single one of those customers coming through, they're just eroding the margin and that lifetime customer value.
So then I guess like a question that leads on from that is, when does chasing a revenue number sort of stop becoming ambitious, because everybody wants revenue at the end of the day, but when does it become really reckless? Like, what's the point where you realize, oh, okay, we've got a real problem here?
I think pretty much straight away, as soon as your marketing is writing checks your fulfillment can't cash, that's when ambition, turns
As
in-
he says to the marketing agency owner, thank you. He looked straight in my soul just then. Thank you. We don't work together, just FYI. So, how about
I
you?
think I'll just add to that. I think something I've noticed in my career is really, is particularly if you're in a marketing team out there, you'll get your revenue goals, your forecasts, your budgets. And I think when it becomes scary is when those forecasts, they haven't been driven by data or enough team input across the business. When we're chasing a goal that really is it doing detriment to us. And what I think about is, have we overcapitalized? Are we planning for everything to go right to hit that budget, or have we considered that potentially we won't, because that's then going to lead to a cash flow problem? So what I like to say to my team is, let's be ambitious, but let's be comfortable if we land maybe 20, 30% under that forecast and make sure we're still healthy there. Because if you're relying to hit that forecast 100% of the time, it can get really scary really quick.
And out of interest, because you're both obviously in the e-com space, what's sort of the profitability margin that you're aiming for typically? I mean, everybody's aiming for 100% profitability, but that's not realistic. Do you have targets in mind? Do you constantly talk about it?
Yeah, I like to look at a contribution margin. So being in e-commerce, I like to look at how much revenue I'm making, cost of goods sold, and then what is the CAC. And really, if that is profitable, there's always expenses, there's so many different things. You can get really tied up in those numbers. But if you feel really comfortable with your contribution margin, I think you're in an okay place to scale.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd add to that is if you're not scaling away from your fixed costs as you're scaling, then you're not scaling. If you're scaling only off the back of paid, I think that can be a really tricky spot to be in. I think obviously paid absolutely has a very important place in the mix, but if your organic channels aren't scaling in tandem, I think that's also can be, a bit of a scary place to be in. And just, I think teams just having a really clear understanding of what are those fixed costs, what are the variable costs, what are the marketing costs, because at the end of the day, if a business isn't profitable, then, there's a time and a place for revenue at all costs. It does come up, but I think if profitability is the ultimate goal, then having teams that actually understand all those underlying costs is super important.
Well, do you guys have an example of maybe like an expensive looking growth decision that you made in the past that you went for and you thought this is going to be the big one, and it ended up actually being a little bit of a difficult one, maybe from a profitability perspective or maybe just pure expense? Was there anything that you did and you kind of went, oh, I regret that a little bit?
I think some that I've seen is just to kind of tandem what you said there, paid, is when you are becoming so heavily reliant on Meta and Google, and in platform it looks profitable, ROAS is great. Remember, in platform is never telling the truth.
Can I just call you out there?
yeah. Or is it? I don't
There are
know.
a couple of people in here that have had that exact conversation.
Yeah.
If you're in 2026 and you're simply looking at ROAS, you are
okay,
so
good.
far
I feel like we're past
so
that,
far
right?
gone.
We are.
It's such a vanity metric. There are so many
But
things you need to look
I've
at.
seen so many businesses scale just based on the success of those
so many
platforms.
people that
like
do.
it's
Yeah.
you think it's a joke.
I
but
think ROAS is just misleading, and you're right. If anybody in here thinks that they've got a direct attribution exactly accurate for ROAS right now, I'd challenge that every day.
So what I would just say to that is honestly having to invest in brand experience, in hiring the right talent for that, and having the events and building a community and all of that, which is really upfront heavy, but having a plan for how that's going to roll out and then make us more profitable down the line. It really does. It is full circle.
On the more service side, any?
Well, one that we see quite often is the free express shipping during a promotion period.
Love that.
I mean, there's people that can relate to that, but I think that's one that, does look on the surface and then you're just borrowing from your future margin.
We have a client that sells, dishwashers and very big equipment, and he's fallen into the trap before where he has put some free shipping situations, and then when you're getting sent out to rural Perth, it kills you. It absolutely destroys your margins. And he'll be like, but they'll come back, and I'm like, look, they're probably not going to purchase 2 dishwashers. I'm pretty sure they're okay. So it's a big trap for sure.
However, I would consider the impact to your conversion rate if you do something like that. So I think if you have the ability to build into your margin or build into your customer acquisition costs, the ability to pull the trigger like that, it can get people over the line that just absolutely weren't going to purchase. We just recently did a survey, and we all know the number one thing people want is a discount or free shipping. So, and think about yourselves as well. Like, I am not paying $10 for shipping. No, you won't catch me doing that. So at times, I think it is a good lever we can pull.
Yeah.
If done strategically.
That's a really good segue into the next question that I definitely wrote. It says, you've acquired a customer who only showed up because of a discount. What's your honest view on ever turning that person into a full price, loyal buyer? Is it possible, or are we kidding ourselves? Thank you, Claude.
I think it really depends on the context for this one. I think we acquire customers through influencers, for example, who will use a discount code on their first purchase, and they go on to be some of our highest LTV, most profitable customers that we acquire. They usually have a higher basket size on their first purchase because they're making a purchase off the back of social proof and somebody that they trust. So I really think, it does depend on the context of the discount. I think in fashion as well, if you don't sometimes offer people a discount, then they will go somewhere that does. So I think it's then about making sure that after that first experience, are you making the post-fulfillment experience, the product, so good that when they come back the second time, they don't need to be incentivized, you don't need to give them a code. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes you can tend them to, but I think generally speaking, people will anchor themselves to that original discount. So without that really slick delivery experience, you don't have much of a lever to pull after that. But yeah, sometimes I think you can. But
So CX is an important one to go through. I think something that I've noticed in the industry is that most brands claim to be customer centric, and not a lot of the time they're not. In terms of like looking inside a business, where does CX actually have a seat at the table? Like who owns it? Who controls the budget? Who can say no to like a bad decision? And have you seen any examples of that CX customer relations stuff sort of contributing to this like non-profitability factor? Is that something that you see inside the business?
Yeah, so I've seen CX sit inside operations departments, and I've seen it sit inside e-commerce and marketing departments, and I think it needs to fall somewhere between the middle. Like at the end of the day, it is a revenue and a retention channel if you treat it correctly. So I think it's something we do really well at Serafina is, we give customer service the respect that it deserves, and we're willing to invest in resourcing and the time to make sure that every customer that reaches out to us has a great experience.
Yeah, I think you can really get into the trap of wanting to be speedy and faster and use AI and get that ticket out the door as quick as you can. And obviously you think that that's going to make us every sale more profitable or every ticket more profitable. But what we see at the Somewhere Co is that we don't mind going back and forth to make that experience really special for the customer, and then that's going to lead to long-term loyalty and potentially make a really bad experience a great one.
So I've heard AI thrown at me for 24, 48 hours this conference, and I am done with it, and we've had every presentation, but I'm going to do this. Who out here in the audience, just raise of hand, is ChatGPT? Who out here is Gemini? Who out here is Claude? Who out here is using a mixture of all? Cool. You guys, in terms of your experience with AI and talking about how it might have been impacted in your businesses, how it's been implemented, where do you sit with AI, and how are you seeing that it's helping from that profitability lens?
I think my opinion on AI is that it's a great tool to automate or speed up things that have very clear guardrails, and that, at the end of the day just would have been a manual sort of, very data entry task for someone to do. We'll use it, for some of our reporting, for our analytics. But I think I'm seeing a lot of people leaning into using it for the creative side of things, or customer service as an example, which I think are those elements that often need quite a human touch to be successful. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think there was a good session this morning around the human element of AI, and completely agree in how I'm using it and really enjoying it is the data analysis, the things that took me forever in Excel that it can quickly do for me, inventory management. If I need to have a good backed research pitch for my boss, and Claude can give me that confidence. And then we are dabbling a lot in the creative space as well. Our founder is very AI first, and we absolutely want to be on the forefront. But it has its challenges, the creative, I think. We have had some really amazing wins. We just have to be really careful that we're adding the human element. We're checking our brand guidelines. It loves to distort a logo, so please just always check your logos. I saw an email go out from a brand the other day, and the logos are all not good. So, but honestly, we should all be dabbling.
I want to hear your opinion on this, but obviously a shout out to Brendan Gillen, who's the one who talks about the human element. Yeah. If you guys haven't, go have a chat to Brendan. He's really clever with it, and he is fantastic at finding that balance between leaning into it but not too far. Hakan, over to you.
Oh, it's really good for panels, questions and answers and stuff. Oh, look, from my perspective, I'm no expert on AI at all, but from our perspective, far out the feature requests that we are pumping through at the moment, the development aspect is just phenomenal. So I'll probably get in trouble for saying it. I might be writing checks I can't cash as well, but I think, that's been the most impressive thing for us, the development, the coding aspect.
Just a little bit more, probably e-commerce related, but refunds, exchanges, store credit related stuff. I know that can have an impact on profitability. Have you guys sort of gone through that? Is there any margin math that you look at that in terms of a customer who's either crediting or doing some kind of refund or exchange? How do you work through that?
I'll just add that I'm really passionate about offering a refund and not just a store credit. Personally, I won't buy from a brand if I can't feel safe that I can return it if I don't like it, and particularly in fashion, it might not fit. So I think some brands could get caught up in the finance aspects of a store credit. Obviously, when you're giving a credit, you're not losing as much margin, but the customer experience surely outweighs that margin loss.
Yeah, I would just say ditto to that. I think if someone is needing to return something, then there's already been friction at some stage of the customer experience for them. If they're not a customer that's going to come back, giving them a store credit that they're never going to use is ultimately, if you're acting in favour of the customer, that's not the way to go.
Yeah, I would just say as well exactly that, but also if you do give both options, then having them really trust your delivery and exchange process is going to be able to keep that credit in the system. Otherwise, if they don't trust that delivery experience or that exchange experience, then refund every time.
One strategy I have seen work is offering the return and the store credit, and then offering a 10% or a $10 on top of the store credit. That can be a great way to incentivize the store credit and the comeback and repurchase.
This is definitely another question that I wrote. Retention discipline is what separates operators from marketers. Can you unpack it a bit? What does a marketer do in that moment that an operator doesn't?
I think from my perspective, it's about the focus on the post-purchase experience. I've worked with businesses, people in my career who are very passionate up until the point of the actual sale, and then after that point, they're not really too fussed once the purchase has been made. So I just think, the importance of quick fulfillment times, of delivering on the shipping timelines that you promise, and if you can't, being proactive and transparent about that. I think a lot of customer experience issues can be solved by just being on the front foot, being transparent and being honest with your customers. So very passionate about the post-purchase side of things.
Nice. I think when it comes to retention, a lot of marketers can get fixated on their customer acquisition cost, so their first purchase cost, but really are you looking at your second acquisition cost, and are you looking at the rate at which that second purchase is without a discount? So I think that's an important one to look at when you're a retention marketer and not an operator.
I need honest answers on this one, and one of you has 30,000 brands that they could potentially absolutely pull up here.
It's me.
What brand can you see that you know reasonably well where the revenue story from the outside looks great, but you would be terrified to have a look at their actual real-life margin story under the hood?
You want me to name a brand?
It says here, feel free to name the brand or just go through the story and we'll try and guess. But name the brand, they won't care.
No, come back to me.
I've got a brand, I think, I'm not going to name it.
Okay. You don't have to name
But
it.
I'm going to allude.
Okay.
I think there's a fast fashion brand that we all know of probably that does a lot, it's discount only, and you only buy from them at discount. And I'm not saying that they're not profitable. I would just love to understand the strategy and the metrics behind it. Are they building in that 30% to their margin? I would love to have a peek under the hood. If you know, you could tell me later.
All I'm going to say is Bianca's got more guts than both of you. She's going out there. So, any from either of you? You don't have to answer. It's not that big a deal. None. What I was thinking was I've been sitting for like 2 hours. I'm like got pins and needles. I might come out there and ask you guys some questions. Does anybody just raise their hands have questions for these guys? They're really, really clever. I think it'd be worth asking them. If you've got anything related to profitability or anything about their business. Yes, thank you, Norm. Thank God. Give me a second, guys. Over to you, Norm. Ask these guys.
Just on the shipping cost type of question. I once sat in a room with someone very important in the fashion industry, and they told me that they had 100% shipping recovery. I'm currently at 60%, aiming for 100%. My question to both of you is when is the fashion industry going to realise we can't continue to give away shipping?
Yeah, I mean, our shipping recovery is definitely not sitting anywhere near 100%, but we do definitely try to recover as much of it as we can. We test our thresholds, and we work with the very clever team at the Aggregate Co who help us with this, and just looking at how far we can push our thresholds and our shipping costs before we do see that drop off in conversion.
Yeah, I second that. I think it's always testing and not just relying on what AI tells you your shipping threshold is, making sure you're always looking at it. Our AOV is changing with different product lines that we're launching, so always revisiting our threshold. And like I said, I'm not saying give free shipping to everyone all the time, but I'm an e-com leader, so I'm not going to say it's not a lever that we can't pull.
Yeah, I wonder if it's changing. It's going in the right direction. I would have imagined, people are recovering more all the time, and I think the same goes for returns. You've seen it in returns previously. Free returns, no sweat, but that those days are gone. I think, well, for the most part, not gone, but getting there.
It is challenging though, because if you look at the likes of the Iconic in the US and UK, Nordstrom, when they do offer that free shipping and free returns, Nordstrom up to 90 days. And if perhaps you are wholesaling through them and also selling D2C, it can really impact your conversion rate versus them. So something to consider as well.
I think interestingly, I've actually seen in a prior role, when stretching out the returns period, we actually saw the returns rate go down. So I think there's something in the customer psychology there about when you give a customer longer to return. I don't know whether they forget that they need to do it, or
I like that.
they put it on the back burner. But that was a really interesting result that we saw off the back of expanding that period.
I've got another question, but I'm actually getting FOMO being down here, so I'm going to come back up after this one. So here you go.
Hey guys, what's your thoughts on Black Friday sales, particularly saying that revenue is a vanity metric, and has your thoughts changed over the last few years?
I can start on this one. I think for Black Friday, I am quite passionate about this not being a customer acquisition period. I think we lean heavily into acquisition throughout the rest of the year, but this period is, if a returning customer wants to come back and purchase with us, that's great. But I think once we look at the acquisition costs during that period and what we would actually make off the back of moving that stock, half the time we'd be paying the customer to take the product from us. So yeah, just not using it as an acquisition period is something I'm pretty passionate about.
Yeah, I second that. I think not setting your forecasts for November to make your entire year's revenue. We want to have stable revenue each month. And also, if you need it, it's great as a clearance event for those people that do want to buy at 70% off. And look, you might have age stock that we need to move through. But I'm against those site-wide sales that are just eating into your margin.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think it's gone to a place now that it's just not sustainable, and clearance. It's got its place, but it's not sale for the sake of sale.
And in my experience, if you throw a site-wide sale, the customers aren't going to crawl through the website and purchase all the aged inventory that you're trying to move. They will purchase your best-selling product.
100% every time.
Every time.
I worked for one fashion brand where I did a lot of testing. They were passionate about a site-wide sale, and I did a lot of testing around how much do we actually need to offer. So 35, 30, 25, 20, and when we did 20, we made the same revenue, same order volume, but significantly more profit. So look, if you do have someone that is desperate to do site-wide, maybe you don't need to offer 30, 40%.
I also 100% agree with everybody up here. Very good points. But I think what I want to do is want to round it off. I think we're getting wrapped up. Can you guys, this conference is full of gems and full of value, and you're also here learning as well as giving amazing, insights to everything. Can you share with this audience here, what's one of the main things that you've learned while being up here, and one of the main things in business that you think that everybody here would really value hearing?
So this is something that I have actually stolen from Jade at LSKD, but I think something she talks about a lot is that not everything that you do in customer service needs to be scalable or efficient. It is okay for it to just be about the customer experience and giving customer service the time and energy that it deserves.
I only got here today. But I will speak back to that human AI model. It really, for me, put me in that spot where I've been struggling with being on two ends of the spectrum, and it allowed me a nice framework, so do go and find it, of how I can tackle each tool while testing things out.
I haven't been to any of the content yet. This is the first bit of content I've actually managed to get to, but actually, I think it's the return period and how that is just counterintuitive. I would never have thought that, but tested and proven.
Really quickly, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, what are you using?
Claude every time.
Claude, but there are better tools for imagery and content.
ChatGPT and a little bit of Claude.
How can everybody get in contact with you? You're all very smart humans. If anybody wanted to come and speak to you, please come and chat straight after this. But is there a way that they can get in touch? LinkedIn? What's the best way to get across?
Yeah, LinkedIn, definitely.
Yep, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn for sure, but we also have a booth over there. So come and see us today or tomorrow.
And what goodies are you giving away for free in the booth?
We got kombucha coming out of our whatever. It's all about the gut health and socks and all sorts.
You guys can also find me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for attending. Please, if you want to talk to any of these brilliant minds, stick around. And thank you. Enjoy the conference. Have a lovely time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for
Thanks,
coming.
team.
Guys.